From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. Well, how are you? I'm pretty good. I had a family reunion over the weekend. It was good. It ended badly. I fought with my brother. This was the most ridiculous thing. He said something politically. It was about politics, about Black Lives Matter, and what's the point, right? But on the other hand, I knew I wasn't going to change his mind, but I still tried. Sometimes you're in a situation where you can't stay silent. At least speaking for myself, I don't know about you, there are certain situations where I just have to say something. And forcefully. I just couldn't let what he said stand. I won't get into the details. You could probably guess. He's one of these... I love my brother. Of course, I love my brother. He's the nicest guy in the world. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. But he's bought into this there is no racism thing. He knows himself. He knows his own heart. And he gets very upset when anybody talks about white privilege or so-called systemic racism, or even that there is racism. His solution is that we stop talking about it. It's the people who talk about race who are to blame for racism itself. And then if we all just forgot about it and stopped talking about it and all just loved each other and got along, then that's all we can do. That's all we should do. And to raise any ruckus about racism is not only pointless, but it's the cause of the problem. It's my fault. So he just said some very outrageous things that were straight out of conservative talk radio. Anyway, so do you have that issue with your family? I'm sure you do. This is nothing unique. And I do just love him dearly. He's my brother. And we share a very special bond. But some things can't stand. They can't be ignored. If things are being spouted within your earshot, well, I won't put this in the form of a command. I'm not telling you what to do. But I believe if something is said within your earshot, you have a responsibility to not let it stand. You got to say something. Anyway, if you're listening, bro, I love you. He's not listening. My family doesn't listen to the podcast, typically. If they do, they are polite enough to not say anything about it. I don't know. I don't get a lot of feedback. That's fine. I like talking to you. I don't need to talk to my family. I've talked to them all my life. And I see them occasionally, and once a year we have a big family party. And it was our annual family party. It was a good time. It was fine. It was fun. Lots of good conversation. Up until the very, very end. It was just the last 5 minutes. Everybody was gone. There were only 4 of us left. My brother, my sister-in-law, and my sister. It was just the 4 of us. And if I just gotten out of there 5 minutes earlier. But generally a great time. And like I say, great conversations throughout the day. Everybody catching up on each other's lives and sharing ideas. Generally speaking, through the course of the day, and it was kind of an all-day event, very little to no talk at all about politics. A little bit of COVID talk, but all or most of us, I think, were pretty much on the same page. Although, not to beat up on my brother, he was just filled with doubts. Oh, masks really don't work. Doctors say so. The doctors that the right-wing radio hosts like to talk about. I avoided conflict there. I let that one pass. And there's this other notion that runs, it's a strain that runs strong in my family and in my general circle that I grew up in. And that's the throw your hands up and say, for example, oh, nutrition, everything kills you. Just eat what you want and be happy. That's a very strong attitude in my family. It's a bit, nihilistic, I guess is the word. You don't know. None of us knows. It's an extreme kind of skepticism where you just throw up your hands and you say, well, we keep hearing different things. These people who don't understand or don't care to understand science and that it changes over time. But it's that general feeling, oh, butter was good for you, then it was bad for you. Eggs were good for you, then they're bad for you. And we can't keep it straight, so let's just not worry. And let's just eat whatever we want and be happy. Well, that's a pretty comforting attitude to have, I guess. But, it does matter. Science generally will get that same kind of thing. Well, nobody really knows, so just do what you want. Do what you feel. I don't know, maybe you feel that way. You never want to hear any new news. You don't want to hear any so-called experts or authorities tell you how to feel or what to do. I've never been that way. I'm always seeking new information, and I understand that science changes over time. I mean, that's one of the big sort of cornerstone problems with this whole COVID thing is people say, well, the CDC says this, and then they say that, and the scientists tell us not to wear masks, and then they tell us to wear masks, and then they tell us that the vaccine works, and now they have to have boosters, and the conclusion is that scientists and researchers and experts have no idea what they're talking about. No, as we have to try to remind them, that's the way science works. They get new information, they change their recommendations, they alter what they're saying because science isn't static. You learn new information, you give it to us. On nutrition, and I'm the first to admit, yeah, it can be confusing. And when you couple that with the idea that, the whole, I don't want to get too deeply into this because I'm not expert in it, but the whole food pyramid has way too much, or the old one had way too much dairy and meat in it because the dairy and meat industries had all this lobbying power in Washington. So, yeah, I mean, a good skepticism, a little mistrust of authority, I guess is a pretty good starting point. But you don't just leave it there. You don't just rely on it. You don't make that your default position. Everybody's lying all the time, so I'll just follow my own instinct and whatever sounds good to me in the moment. I can't go all the way there. The whole science changes and trusting authority. Oh, there's a good, on Facebook, they have those borders you can put around your profile picture. The one I've seen popping up on a lot of my friends' profile pics is, it says, I have a healthy mistrust or distrust, whichever is more correct, I forget which. I have a healthy mistrust of authority, but I took the vaccine. And I guess that's about right. I have a healthy mistrust of authority. But like any other decision in life, you weigh the risk. Everything is a risk benefit. Will I cross the street or not? People get killed crossing the street. Well, I'm still going to cross the street. Yeah, is there a risk? Sure there is. And the risk-benefit analysis on taking the vaccine, to me, it's a no-brainer. On the 0.001% chance, and that's about what it is. I mean, there's a total scientific consensus on the vaccine. There's a 0.00001 chance that maybe there's a problem with the vaccine. Because it's science, right? And science is never 100%. But there is consensus, and there is, practically unanimous consensus on a few scientific facts. If I drop this pencil, it's going to hit the floor. That's a consensus. Will it float to the ceiling? I guess it's possible. They've never proven gravity, but they're able to feel pretty confident in predicting which way that pencil is going to go. Well, it's pretty much the same odds with the vaccine. Take it. You're going to be fine. My risk-benefit analysis, I feel very comfortable in that. Because the risk then, the benefit, of course, is the vaccine. The risk of not taking the vaccine is also pretty damned obvious. Eesh, the Delta variant. God, it's got me running scared, I got to admit. All these vaccinated people, and there are quite a lot of them getting sick. I don't want to get it. I don't want to pass it. I don't want to be a part of this. Well, you and I are on the same page here. We know each other. So a good party with my family. Something else in my family. Boy, I hope they're not listening to this podcast. I said they never do, but on the rare occasion that they do, I hope it's not this one. Some people in my family, how shall I put it? They like to vent. They like to complain. And, we all like to vent. We all like to complain. There's a cathartic aspect to that. It feels pretty good, especially if it's with someone you love and count on. They're a good friend or they're, a family member, and you can count on them to be a good listener. There's nothing wrong with venting occasionally. Get it out. Okay. What you don't want to let it do is dominate your personality. And I bring this up specifically because I saw a post on my social media that reads, "Ask yourself, am I an emotional dumper? Do you regularly vent to friends, family, without asking first, are you in a space to listen?" The holistic psychologist, I have no prior knowledge of this source, so I'm not recommending them, but just the little post, the little meme itself, made me kind of step back and think a little bit. Have I done that? I wonder if I have. I've certainly vented in my life. We all have. But yeah, this is a nice little reminder. Let's make sure that the person we're venting to is in the right place for it. It's kind of like getting consent before sex, right? Make sure everybody's on the same page. Make sure they're ready for this. I can certainly tell you through experience. I've got a friend or two. I'm thinking of one in particular right now, not a family member. But I've got one friend, and every time we talk, she goes off. I mean, she goes on a rant. It's not just a vent. She just lets it all out. And I'm her friend, so I listen. And occasionally she tries my patience. And I look at my clock, and it's been 20 minutes. She's been venting nonstop for 20 minutes. And I have to confess, I get a little uptight. And there have been occasions, more than one occasion, when I told her, you know what, if this is too much, you're transferring all of your anxiety, all of your angst, all of your emotions to me. I'm starting to get anxious. I'm starting to get upset and angry on your behalf. And I don't want to be upset and angry. Yeah, I had to come out and tell her a couple times. It's like, you need to be more aware of this. So anyway, just a good reminder. I vent here on the program sometimes. Well, you have the advantage that we don't have in our personal relationships. You can just turn me off. You can just hit a button and I'm gone. Click, there I go. And I give you full permission to do that. If I'm annoying you, please don't put up with me. Go have a nice day. All right. There's a toddler outside my door. Do you hear that? I'm not sure if you can hear that. That's nice. I like to hear a toddler occasionally. Oh, that was another nice thing about the party. I don't get to spend too much time with little kids. And I've got some little nieces and nephews and, the younger folks in the family. Just little ones, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, 8 years old. And they were having a good time splashing around in the pool. And it was fun having little kids around, talking to them. I loved my own kids, of course. I love my kids. But I when they were little, I enjoyed them. It was great spending time with them. I just enjoyed every minute of it. But outside of my 2 kids, I've never really been a kid person. I don't necessarily gravitate toward them. They don't I mean, we get along fine. I'm not, I'm not a Scrooge about it. But, just haven't had a lot of opportunities to spend a lot of time with kids. And if I did, I wasn't 100% interested. I just loved my own kids. Other kids were sometimes either annoying or, this is an adult. To deal with a 4-year-old or an 8-year-old, you got to kind of figure it out. You got to get down there with them. You have to enjoy it. And I did. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I hope you're good with kids, and I hope they like you. That's a good sign. When kids and dogs like you, you're halfway there. You're doing fine. You're doing great. Oh, speaking of kids, I was watching the Brewers game on Sunday. Here in Milwaukee, every Sunday home game is televised on Telemundo. You know me, I don't do streaming, I don't have services, so I don't watch a lot of sports on television unless it's on regular commercial television. And all of baseball now, except for the occasional Fox game of the week, it's all on cable. So I listen to baseball. I listen to the great Bob Uecker. But on Sundays, I tune in to the game on Telemundo. By the way, I love the announcer. Telemundo, Wisconsin. Great. Just the greatest voice ever. Telemundo, Wisconsin. Anyway, I'm watching the game, and this guy, full-grown, a large guy, an adult, tall, strapping guy, there's a foul ball hit into the stands, and nobody caught it. It's very rare that somebody catches a foul ball. They usually scramble for it, right? And so they're scrambling for the ball. And this big strapping guy, got to be probably in his 20s or 30s, wins the scrum to get the ball. And he's very excited. He's holding it up triumphantly as this little girl who was right in there with him kind of looks up very sadly, goes back to her mom and dad. And you know what? If you're a grown-ass man and you get a foul ball at a baseball game, give it to the nearest kid, would you? Come on. Be a person. If you win the scrum for the ball, give it to the kid. She had to be about, 7 years old, maybe 6. And looking up at this guy, towering over her, holding the ball high up in the air for everybody to applaud for him. And he's so happy and he's so proud of himself, just completely unaware of this kid. This is my decree today. This is my command. If you're a grown-ass man and you get a foul ball, give it to the nearest kid. Seriously, what is wrong with people? Well, what's going on? What's going on? Hey, I'm watching. This is a big week here. We got to see how this Afghanistan thing plays out. And it's also infrastructure week again. Boy, the infrastructure thing and the budget bill, wow. Just all sorts of back and forth between the moderates. Well, they're not moderates, they're conservatives, the conservative Democrats and the progressives. And, of course, Nancy Pelosi has to work her magic. So we'll see where that goes. But the reason I bring it up, I'm really thinking about Joe right now. President Joe, I'm going to be gauging this very carefully. If he can get out the other end of this thing on Afghanistan without too much more of a political hit. I mean, it's sad, it's tragic in every way. People are furious. They should be. I'm not here to say I'm the big expert, but I know what I see. And I am somebody who pays very careful attention to the media, to carefully selected media. I don't just grab it on the go. I read, I look for it. And the people I respect, the reporting from the area is very damning. And the danger that Afghanis face is real and imminent and grave. So I'm not happy with Joe regarding Afghanistan. If over the next week or two, the tide turns and we get out of there and we're able to do something for the Afghanis, my God, hundreds of thousands of people want to get out of there. That's a lot of damn people. It's not 5,000 or 10,000 or 20,000. It's like 300,000 or more. So if he can make this thing right, okay, I'll give him that chance. The other big bill that Democrats are going to do on their own, but now there's fighting between the conservatives and the progressives in the Democratic Party. There is what's on Joe's plate right now. If he cannot clean this plate, I'm telling you, if any or all of this ends badly, it's seriously time to start choosing a primary opponent. We got a primary Joe. I'm not calling for it yet, but he's on his final warning. He's got to get these things across the goal line. He's got to get infrastructure across the goal line. He's got to get this budget bill that the Democrats are doing alone. He's got to get that across the goal line. He's got to get Afghanistan across the goal line. And then he's got to get his priorities back. He kept promising these 4 pillars for as long as the campaign happened in the transition and the first whatever months of his presidency. He promised us that everything he did would have an element of one of those 4 pillars. Income inequality, not just the economy. No, that's too broad and usually out of focus. I don't like it when people just say the economy. It can mean anything. No, he specifically said income inequality, economic injustice. That's what he was talking about. That's what he promised. And that's what we have to remember. And we have to hold his feet to the fire. He talked about COVID. He's got to get COVID over the goal line. He's got to finish that. Now, I have all the sympathy in the world. I understand what he's up against. You know, when he says, come on, man, what else can I do? Yeah, I kind of nod my head. I guess I agree with you, Joe. The fact that the Orange Menace left such a damaging legacy, and that, I mean, did you hear the Orange Menace got booed the other night by his own supporters because he told them to get vaccinated? He and they have created such a monster. It's the classic, Frankenstein's tale. You create a monster that you can't control. The monster gets loose. Well, the Orange Menace monster is loose, let me tell you. The anti-vax and anti-mask protests that are getting violent, and now they're overlapping. We talked the other day about this Venn diagram, right? We got the January 6th insurgents, we got the whole Free Dumb coalition, and they're joining forces. They're just finding common cause with the anti-vaxxers and the anti-maskers, and they're becoming this just big monolith of a monster. So, I don't know. I don't know what Joe can really do about those people. I'll be honest at this point. But he is the president. He's got to have some damned ideas. He's got to at least try to do something about it. So the 4 pillars, COVID, economic injustice, and then the other 2 pillars are just as big or bigger, climate crisis and Black Lives Matter. If he doesn't remain focused on those pillars as he promised, and if he doesn't show some real progress, at this point, he better at least show me something. Police brutality, systemic racism, Black Lives Matter. We better see some real tangible proposals, actionable ideas. We got to see something happen. Well, with climate crisis, my God, the reports we're getting recently. Another one just the other day. Climate report shows world pushed to the brink by fossil fuels. The David Suzuki Foundation, which is a wonderful source. You should bookmark the David Suzuki Foundation. The first of the 4-part 6th assessment, Climate Change 2021, confirms that human activity, mainly burning fossil fuels and destroying natural carbon sinks, is heating the planet at unprecedented and accelerated rates. That warming will continue at least until mid-century, no matter what, because of emissions already emitted. and that global warming will exceed 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius this century unless we rapidly reduce emissions. And we're not. Emissions continue to grow. They haven't even leveled off, let alone been reduced. So, Joe, you're the leader of the goddamn free world. That's what they call the president. And until China takes over for real, it's still true. You're the leader of the free world. Get on it. I know. Of course I'm asking a lot. You're the fucking president. He has to show real progress real quick. Because before you know it, we're going to be in campaign season for the 22 midterms. And, like it or not, the president has an awful lot to do with midterm results. He's got to be kicking it in high gear for the Democrats to have any kind of chance of holding the House and the Senate. If he botches this in the next few months and the Republicans are able to take these failures into the midterm elections, God help us all. And as soon as those midterms are over, I'm making the call. And right now it looks like, we got to primary this guy. We absolutely have to primary him. He's not getting it done. Does he have a chance? Can he prove me wrong? Yes. I'm giving him another, 6 months or so. Maybe I'll even be generous and I'll wait until after the midterms. But the minute those midterms are over, I'm calling it. You turn this thing around, I'm going to give you another chance. Or, no, not even close. And that's where we are now. Democrats, you have to primary him. And voters, you have to make a decision. I said after the last election, this is the last time I'm voting for a moderate. I'm voting straight lefty, 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 as far left as I can vote from here on out. The Orange Menace was an existential threat. I would have voted for literally anybody just to vanquish the Orange Menace. But that was a special case. It's too late. It's too late for economic justice. It's too late for Black Lives Matter. It's too late for the climate crisis. Yes, it's a tough job. No, I don't have all the answers. But damn it, here's what I do know. I know that the answers have to be bolder. So I'm going to be personally looking for the boldest candidate I can find at every level on that ballot, from the White House on down to dog catcher. Because we've crossed the line. There's no more waiting. There's no more compromising. There's no more wishful thinking. No. Whatever we do on these issues, especially climate, we have to do them now and we have to do them big. So unless Joe and the Democratic Congress can prove to me that they're willing to go big, quickly, they've had my support for the last time. All right. Well, that went quickly. Good to talk to you again. I'll talk to you tomorrow about, always lots to talk about. I do love you. I'm Charles Purcell.